Hello, everyone. Welcome to Sweet Serenity Healing Messages. These messages are meant to give you hope, clarity, courage, understanding, and the motivation you need to move forward on your healing journey. Whenever this message finds you, that's when you were meant to receive it. Please don't forget to like, share, and subscribe. I deeply appreciate all of your support. You can follow me on Facebook at Sweet Serenity Chakra Healing. And if you would like to donate to the channel, the link to my Cash App can be found in the description below. With that said, let's get started with our mindful messages for the day. First message is, your wound is probably not your fault, but your healing is your responsibility. Your wound is probably not your fault, but your healing is your responsibility. So many times in life, someone may hurt you or may do something that isn't right. And they may excuse this behavior by stating that they were hurt as a child or they've had a negative experience that caused them to act or react in a particular fashion that is on both ends seemed or deemed as unacceptable. However, that type of behavior is not acceptable. We all have things that we've been through. We all have trauma from our past. May not be to the same extent as the person beside you or the people that you're around or others in society. But we all have our own issues to deal with that have had an impact on our lives. We've all dealt with negative situations. No one in this lifetime or this realm or existence is immune to having negative experiences. And so it is our responsibility not to lash out at people based upon what we have experienced, the pain and the hurt that we're going through, but it is instead our responsibility to ensure that we are healing through that process, that we are actually digging into what transpired, how it impacted us, why it happened, maybe how we can tackle it differently if it was something that we were old enough to, engage in actively and not necessarily, let's say, a child that was a victim to a situation that they had no control over. But if it was a situation where you had some level of agency that you could effectively use in that situation, then how can we do things differently? Do we need to go to therapy? Do we need to speak to friends? Do we need to journal? Do we need to look into doing some shadow work to see if we can, unravel what it is that we're feeling subconsciously and maybe expressing from a subconscious frame of mind? So although the pain may not be something that we inflicted upon ourselves, it may have been something that someone else inflicted upon us. What we definitely don't want to do is put someone else in that same state of mind or being, because we too chose not to heal ourselves, because that's exactly what the person who inflicted that issue on us or that wound on us did. Instead of healing their issues, they decided to project that issue onto us. And so the best way to end that cycle is to ensure that we take on our own healing process as our personal responsibilities. Next card. Build a life you don't need to escape from. All right, so in life, we tend to believe that a lot of the things that we don't like about our lives are just things that we need to deal with or have to deal with. We may not, or we may despise waking up at the crack of dawn. And we're like, well, in order to be successful, we have to be the first one up. And if waking up first or early in the morning or the crack of dawn is something that makes you miserable, keep in mind that there are many jobs where you can work second shift, third shift, overnight, and still be equally successful, you know? There are many doctors who work overnight shifts. There are nurses. There are people who work in warehouses that work overnight. There are truck drivers who drive overnight. So those are just a few examples, but there are many examples in life. Even those who decide to create content for a living, they get to determine what time of day they go ahead and create and or share content. So as long as you keep an open mind and don't hinder yourself from having access to the things that you want by taking on beliefs or holding on to beliefs that don't serve the lifestyle that you want or are trying to create, you open yourself up to the possibilities. But it always starts with, what is your belief system? And you definitely don't want a life that you need to escape from. So if you find yourself in unhealthy habits like drinking, smoking, partying too much, working too hard, even not ever having time to slow down or wanting to slow down because you're afraid of what you might have to face, whether it's emotional or within your family or anything along those lines, that may be a clear sign that you may not have the life that you want. Even if you have a lot of things, and even if a lot of other people believe that those things are also what they want, if you find yourself taking on negative habits that aren't going to be good for you in the long run, because of something as simple as burnout because you're never resting, or something as expensive as alcoholism because it might, cause organs in your body to shut down, and it may shorten your life as a result of that behavior. So if you find yourself in those spaces, then that may be something to evaluate to say, how can I make a change in my life to have the life that I actually want and don't want to find reasons to escape from it. Next card. Whatever you do, never run back to what broke you. This quote is by Frank Ocean. A lot of times when we make changes in our lives, those changes are very scary. And even though the things that we're stepping away from, we know in our hearts and our minds and every fiber of our being that those things are better for us, that we're trying to work towards. The fact that they're unfamiliar in itself makes that situation uncomfortable. What we're leaving, even if it's toxic, unhealthy, tires us out, causes us physical harm, emotional harm, mental harm, because it's familiar, it innately has some level of comfort to it. But when making decisions in your life, when trying to make changes in your life, when trying to make progress in your life, what you need to be able to realize is that you should not run back to whatever broke you, whatever hurt you, whatever caused you to not be your full self, to not shine as brightly as you can shine, because it will not get better. It can only get better when we choose to take on healthier habits or move in healthier directions, move towards what actually serves us, what actually feeds us, what actually helps us grow. So it's better to even stay still and even be stagnant for a time than to crawl back to whatever it is that hurt us, that didn't allow us to grow, that hindered our growth. Next card. I trust myself. All right. So a lot of times we believe that the issues that we have in life, especially in terms of trust, have a lot to do with trust that has been broken between ourselves and other people that we engage with. Someone has done something, whether it be lying, cheating, or some other level of deception or betrayal, that has caused us to believe that it is hard to trust others, when in actuality the root of our trust, all trust, is rooted in the trusting relationships that we have with ourselves. We have our own intuition, we have our own inner knowing, and even when we interact with other people, we have inklings within ourselves that tell us, this doesn't feel right, or maybe you should ask another question, maybe you should inquire some more. And a lot of times we don't follow those inklings. And when we don't, that's when the trust between us and ourselves breaks down, because we are not working in our own best interest. And as a result of that, the trust between ourselves and the people that we're dealing with starts to break down, because trust is not faith. It is not something that is blind. It is something that is built. And I guess that is another aspect to it, is that, even the trust that we have within ourselves, it is based upon the behaviors that we continue or possess or exhibit on a regular basis. If in all or most situations we follow our gut, we follow our intuition, we listen to these feelings that our body has, and we act accordingly, then we will have a trusting relationship with ourselves. And the same will result in the relationships that we have with other people. When we say, all right, this doesn't feel good, I'm going to ask this question. Or this doesn't sound right, I'm going to ask this question. And in many cases, I don't need proof. My intuition has told me that something is up. It doesn't feel right. So I'm going to remove myself from this situation. And in due time, it will reveal itself. But I don't have to keep myself in a negative, toxic, or unhealthy situation waiting to see what's going to unfold, when my inner knowing has already told me that something negative is going to unfold. So, as I said before, the best trusting relationship to develop is that with yourself. Because once you do that, it doesn't matter what anybody else does. You will always work in your own best interest, and that is what is most important. Next card. Evolve or repeat. When we experience things that are negative and repetitive in our lives, and a lot of times that shows up once again in the context of our relationships. So either ourselves or maybe someone we know always picks the same type of person to be with, same guy, same girl, whatever the gender or the sex. And we're like, oh, he's going to fall back into the same loop, same cycle. She's going to fall back in the same loop, same cycle, even though she left that guy and has found someone new. This new guy is exactly like the last guy, even though his initial face was a little bit different. As the situation unfolds, he becomes more and more, or reveals himself to be more and more like the last person that she left, who was like the person prior to that. And what it is that we are not, or that person that's in that relationship is not learning the lesson that they were meant to learn in those relationships. They are not developing the boundaries that they need to develop for themselves. They are not trusting their intuition. Back to trusting myself. They are not trusting their intuition. They are not trusting their inner knowing. They are not asking the necessary questions, which is how they're continuing to fall back into this hole. The best thing you can do in life is take accountability, especially once you become an adult and have the ability to speak and act for yourself and in your best interest, is to take accountability for the situations that you find yourself in. At the point at which you say that I am a victim and they are the one, you take all the power from yourself and your ability to make active changes in your own life. Once you take that accountability and you say, well, what am I doing that's the same? How can I assess the situation? What is the pattern? What is the cycle? How do we break it? If this is the 3 steps that happen before, he cheats, or the 3 steps that happen before he hits me, it's not to say that he or she are the reason why I am being hit, or he or she are the reason why I am being cheated on. However, how am I contributing to a situation that allows for this type of behavior to transpire? What did I need to say in order to ensure that this person isn't that type of person? What questions should I have asked? It's not even about boundaries. It's about, detecting who you're dealing with. Once again, following that inner voice, that inner intuition. If it doesn't feel right, if your stomach is churning, if you're having dreams about things that don't feel comfortable, those are all signs that the universe or your ancestors, your spirit guides are trying to tell you, hey, something is up, and you don't need to look into it. You just need to follow the voice to say, you know what, let me take a step back so I can truly assess the situation. Sometimes it's just a matter of I'm running into things too quickly and I'm not giving myself time to actually assess what's going on, to actually assess who I'm dealing with, to actually get enough information before I draw these conclusions that I'm in love, that I want to be in a relationship, that I want to be married, that I want them to be my best friend. Whatever the case may be, we may not be getting enough information. So these situations will continue to come up in your life and grow in intensity, unfortunately, until what is obvious about it becomes obvious enough to you for you to make those changes so that that whole situation can eliminate itself, so that you can evolve past that lesson. And I say obvious because many times the people around you can see it. They see it coming from 1,000 miles away, and yet the person that's in it usually has the hardest time actually seeing what's transpiring. So even in just taking a step back or taking things slower, or I wouldn't advise, going around and asking a bunch of people a bunch of questions. They can tell you whatever they want to tell you, and their interests are not necessarily your interests. And in order to be able to tap into your own intuition, sometimes the best thing that you can do is actually try to, work that muscle, right? Try to assess things on your own. Maybe pray and see what comes about. Speak to your ancestors, see if they have answers for you. See if there's signs in the universe that align with whatever it is that you're going through. Even on a television show that you're watching or a movie that you're watching, if you ask a question, the answers may appear in places as simple as that. So, use all the tools that's around you to see what it is that's going on, and don't always rely on other people because they may not always be around or available to give you those answers. And after a certain period of time, they may become exhausted of trying to give you those answers when you have those tools within you to get those answers for yourself. Moving on. Yin Yang. The ancient symbol of harmony reminds us that life is a balancing act and most fulfilling when we learn to embrace its dualities, ups and down, good times and bad, joys and challenges. Many people only like the ups, they only like the goods, they only like the joy, but the negative aspects of every situation serves its purpose. And we have to be able to, one, stay happy and joyous even in those challenges, and two, understand that those challenges are being presented to us for a reason. They are not meaningless. They have lessons. Many times, in order for us to grow, we have to have challenging situations, we have to have bad days, we have to have down moments. It's not just about appreciating the good. For me, a lot of times in life, I believe personally that if I'm going to be able to be successful, then I have to learn a lot. And learning isn't, especially when it comes to learning in the context of life and not just in the context of education and books and in that formality, there are going to be failures. There are going to be missteps. There are going to be situations that I'm being prepared for, right? And everyone in those situations that I'm being prepared for aren't always the best people with the best of intentions. So sometimes it takes going through a situation with a deceptive person and learning how to create those boundaries and ask those questions to know, when you get leveled up in life and you go into a situation where there may be that type of person, but on the other side is a very important blessing, and knowing how to handle that person, not just being defensive or getting angry and getting upset, but being able to have a clear mind and a sound character, and being in an emotional state that allows you to remain controlled, right? Without suppressing emotion, but just being able to observe from a non-emotional space. Sometimes you have to go through rocky situations with not so pleasant people because they exist, right? The reality is just that good, bad, up, down, joy, and challenges, they all exist in the same realm. And in order to be successful in this space, you will need to have to know how to manage those things when they come about, because all of your blessings will not just be built in simply joy. Right? There will be other elements in those situations. And so when you find a challenge, when you come across a challenge, when you have a challenging day or a challenging situation, you tell the universe, thank you. Thank you for this challenge, and I will do my best, hopefully with your support, to get through it. Give me the clarity that I need. Give me the sound judgment that I need. Still my emotions, allow me to see clearly so that I can see past being upset or how I've been triggered, and let me see what the lesson is for me to learn. That way I can get through it. Because that's all it is getting through the lesson. It's not even about staying in that space and being a miserable person or having horrible things happen to you. It's about getting to the other side. All right. Well, up to this point, if you have enjoyed the message and have been able to get any good nuggets of information from it, definitely go ahead and like, share, and subscribe. I definitely appreciate your support. Now I am pulling a Beyond Lemuria Oracle card, and we're going to take a look at what it says. Ether, the seamless unspeakable. This illuminated space of no distraction and pure potential is beyond the threshold. It is the centered and present place where all dreams are birthed. From here you can choose where you go. What may be perceived as endless nothingness is illuminated eternal. Let's try this again. What may be perceived as endless nothingness is the illuminated eternal, the core that all fears may be peeled back to. Step through the darkness and realize it is only a short distance from the white void at the center of creation. Herein lies the feeling you may have been striving to meet, yet subconsciously running from. In graceful surrender, know you are held and drop deeper into existence. All right. So it kind of goes back to the Yin Yang message in terms of the bad things or the darkness not being the be all end all. And I guess that's the thing that we need to keep in the forefront of our minds. Time is fluid, change is inevitable. The darkness only lasts but so long. The bliss only lasts but for so long. Things will continuously change. So even while you are in the darkness, the white light or the thing that you're looking to achieve, the greatness that is waiting for you is only but so many steps away. It's just past the threshold. So many times we get so focused on fighting the darkness, avoiding the darkness, that we don't realize that it is our path to the light every single time. All right, next, let's take a card from Gateway Oracle. Revealing Radiance. My light illuminates the world. Let's look that up. There is a luminosity within you that's expanding. It illuminates others and brings light to the darkness. Your radiance also acts as a sacred beacon that calls the bounty and support of the universe to you. Even if you are feeling lackluster lately, know that there's a vibrant, shimmering light radiating within you. Take time to be still and welcome the light revealing itself to you. Own your radiance, and the rays will expand into the furthest reaches of time and space. When you shine brightly from your heart, the bounty of the universe showers you with blessings. You are the light. Questions you can ask yourself. How can I shine even more brightly? Who helps me shine and who dims my light? What do I need to clear out of my life so I can shine even brighter? Okay. One of the best things that we can do in life, which is why it's best to focus on the good and the best and to have gratitude, is to shine brightly. It is from the shining of our light that many other people are inspired to shine their light as well. That is what attracts good energy to us. That is what raises our vibration. And even when we are in darkness, that is sometimes the best time to tap into that inner radiance. Because that's something that we have within ourselves that we don't have to tap into other experiences or other people in order to have access to. Once we can focus on, our own uniqueness, our own abundance, our own gifts, the blessings that we've had, the things that we've overcome, that all adds to our own personal light, and just hold that within our hearts and keep that as our place, our home even, right? So that as we go through life, we don't have to look for those things outside of us. The experiences in our lives that we've overcome sometimes is enough light. And if we focus on that, then we can shine from that place. All right, last, we're going to pull a Moonology Oracle card. Let's go with this one. Your commitment is being tested. All right. First quarter moon. We go ahead and look that up. There could be some challenges coming your way, but they're just the universe's way of testing you. The first quarter moon calls for you to face any hurdles with confidence. What do you actually think is possible? If you believe you can do it, then you probably can. If you spend your life affirming that something is too big for you to surmount, it probably is. See how it works? Do you believe your dreams will come true, or have you already given up? Showing some commitment now will help you move towards your desired outcome. What you believe to be true is true for you, so believe in yourself. The affirmation is, I am committed to my dreams and move towards them with confidence. I am committed to my dreams and move towards them with confidence. The teaching. In the lunar cycle, the first quarter moon comes between the new moon and the full moon. It's a time when the sun and the moon are at a hard astrological angle to each other, and this can prompt a small crisis. No matter when you pull this card, you need to see any dramas as a stepping stone to where you want to be. It can also be a time when you need to stay strong through a storm. All right. So these messages are definitely tying into one another, at least coming from the Yin Yang, because this message also speaks to being in a dark space and having to have an inner knowing of what your potential is and where you're going to end up. You cannot allow the darkness to consume you, because you have to tap into your inner radiance, right? And you have to know that what is for you and your potential is just beyond the threshold that's in front of you. And you're moving forward cannot be a reflection of the circumstances that you're currently in. Where your mind is doesn't have to be in the space that you're looking at. you can look past it. You can have faith and be inspired beyond the space that you're physically in. So if you ever find yourself on a mission, working towards a goal, and you tell yourself, I've hit a hard spot, don't let that be the deterrent to stop you. Maybe it could slow you down for a little bit, maybe it's a little discouraging. And sometimes we have to take that energy and that moment and we have to say, you know what? Today is not a good day. I'm going to take this day off and I'm going to reflect. And I'm even going to rest. But after today, I'm going to get back on this horse and I'm going to continue on my journey, because I have faith above all else, above what anyone else has to say or whatever is transpiring in this moment, that I have the ability to get there. And in just affirming your knowing of where you're going and what you're going to achieve, you're going to achieve it, because it starts with you knowing it within yourself. It doesn't matter what's going on around you or how other people think about it or feel about it. It all starts with you and that determination within you. The universe will match that energy and it will meet you. But it's going to test you to see, how bad do you want this? Do you want to go the full throttle, or do you want me to do the full job for you? Are you willing to put in this work? Are you willing to be committed? Because every day is not going to be a good day. There are going to be hard days. There are going to be dark days. You have to be able to embrace both. You have to be able to overcome both, right? You have to evolve or repeat. It's either I'm going to keep throwing these obstacles in your way, and at some point you're going to say, you know what, bump them obstacles. I'm going to get through this. Can nothing stop me, and can no one stop me? And once you get into that mind frame, then you can have whatever you want, because you have the determination and the perseverance to have whatever it is that you want. All right, guys. I hope that this lesson was a blessing to you today. I hope that these messages were a blessing to you. I definitely hope that they were inspiring, and I appreciate your time and you spending it with me, going through these messages, and hopefully, you've learned something, you've been inspired in some way. It's caused you to gain some aspect of hope in your life, some understanding, some courage, some ability to move forward past whatever storm that you're going through. And if you are going through a storm, just know that you can get to the other side, as long as you know you can get to the other side. Thank you so much and have a blessed day.